Shoes. Recorded live.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Javiland. Today is the premiere first issue collector's item episode. So once the podcast is done, download it and bag and board it. So anyway, my name is Javier Hernandez, and this is Javiland. Why call it Javiland? I don't know. I mean, if my name was Tom, it'd be Tommyland. If it was Jim, it'd be Jimmy Land or Teddy Land or Joshua Land. But so anyway, I couldn't think of a name. You know, I thought of 1,000 names and I couldn't settle on one. It was, you know, I don't want to sound too stuffy or, you know, whatever, or silly or goofy. And then I ended up picking Javiland. So anyway, Javiland is supposed to be a fun place. It's gonna be about me talking, about my comics and your comics. And my comics, it's going to be the comics I created and the ones I am creating and the ones I will be creating or I want to create. It's also about the comics I grew up reading or anything I'm reading nowadays. And as far as you, the listener, and any participants we have, and I see we got some folks there right now in the chat room, as far as your comics, yeah, you'll tell us about your comics, what inspires you, why you do your comics, what comics do you do, and what comics did you grow up reading or are currently reading. So it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be interactive. You know, we got our chat. You're always welcome to join the chat room live once we podcast. And of course, we also have the option to call in. You can call in, and then I can have you join the conversation. So it's going to be fun to have this interactive. Let me start from the beginning. Myself, Javier Hernandez, I am a cartoonist, a comic creator, self-publisher, DIY. I've been doing comics, 10 years actually. My first comic I did, as far as printing and publishing, was a book called El Muerto, the Aztec Zombie. That was a photocopied, black and white comic book. It was actually comic book size. I didn't want to do it just 10 years. That's a long time there. What was I going to say? I'm sorry. The thing about these talk shows is funny because you're trying to talk, and at the same time you want to make sure you look at the chat because you got folks in there chatting, and that's what it's for. And then I'm terrible to lose my train of thought so easily, but it is awesome. So yeah, 10 years. I've done some. I've done a few comics. The actual, color cover, slick paper, and the black and white interiors. But I've done a lot of mini comics and zines throughout the years too. I mean, they're actually quicker for me to knock out because they're, less pages, they're smaller. Sometimes I do a lot of things where I have a lot of sketches in there or a lot of text pieces. But yeah, the comics, I love doing the comics. Sequential art, whatever you want to call it, storytelling, words and pictures, the funny books. Let's see. My garage is on fire. That's scary, Jim Luan. Thanks for that emergency response there on the chat room. Anyway, I'm going to look away from this chat thing for a while. You guys go right ahead. This is pretty awesome. So, 10 years doing comics, loving it. I haven't done any web comics yet. That'll be something very interesting to explore on the show to talk about. I want to talk to people who actually done the web comics and find out from them how the experience is. But yeah, I'm pretty much a print guy, very old-fashioned, but I noticed everyone is still printing comics, graphic novels, pamphlets, mini comic zines, whatever you want to call them. So hopefully we can start talking about web comics quite a bit because that'll be new for me to learn about. So besides the comic book, at one point in my little comic-making career, I was lucky enough to get a movie made out of my comic, El Muerto, independent film. That was just through a interview I did on NPR, but that was a great stroke of luck. That NPR interview happened to interview me one day at Comic-Con San Diego back in 2001, I think. But like my friend Ted Secco says, it's not just luck. I mean, it's luck that someone heard about you at a particular point in time, and that's the lucky part. But like Ted says, and I agree, it's not luck that I got off my butt and made my own comic book. That wasn't luck. That was just, hey, I want to make my own comic. We all do that, or we all have to do that if we want to get something out. You got to get the ball rolling, come up with your idea, execute it, publish it, print it, whatever, on the web or in print. And then you do have to promote it. You can't just sit there and have the book pinned on your wall and say, man, that's great, but where's all the money and all the fame? Well, not that the money and fame shows up anyway in the independent circuit, but. So anyway, yeah, get out there and do your book. That's what I did, and I went to a comic convention in San Diego. You know, I put out the money for the table. They're not cheap, but you know what? It's like, hey, instead of keeping the money in the bank or buying stocks or buying groceries or something, go rent a table at a convention and do your comic book. So yeah, super hard freaking work, as Mr. Joshua Kemble says, and he knows about it because he's been doing his own comics too. So yeah, the movie El Muerto was independent film. I was involved as an associate producer on the film, so I was pretty heavily involved. Our director, Brian Cox, he wrote and directed the film, and I did not write the script or anything, and I certainly didn't direct it. This is the pre-Frank Miller Sin City days. But no, I didn't even think of directing it. It's like, no, I don't know anything about filmmaking. I don't want to make it a disaster. So we made the film, and when was that? We filmed it in 2005, and then finally got released 2006, 2007. We did the film festival circuit. We did about, I think, offhand, I think it was like 10 film festivals, and I went to, I think, about 8 of them, which was super awesome to be going to the film festivals with your movie and showing it up on the big screen. That's, I know Jim Lujan has commented about that. He's an animator, and yeah, to see your stuff on the big screen, that's a pretty cool leap. I mean, we all love comics, and that's my primary storytelling medium. But yeah, it's one thing to do a comic book and give it to people or sell it to them, and then you read it off. They take it home, they read it, hopefully they like it. But you don't really know. You're not really with them as they're reading it for the most part, unless they read it right in front of you and then decide not to buy it. The rats. But a movie, for example, like, yeah, you're sitting in the audience and you are hearing all their reactions. And at least the festival screening I went to, yeah, it felt really, really good. Totally. So like I said, that was really fun. So anyway, that's a little bit about the movie El Muerto, available on DVD now. So it's got a lot of great special features I worked on. I did a little how to draw El Muerto tutorial on there. You don't see me on it, but I mean, they're my drawings, and then they just kind of, I don't want to say they animated it, but like the 3 stages of the drawing, and they just kind of morph into one another. So that was really fun doing that. And there is a little mini comic in there. Tehran's reminded me. Yeah, a little mini comic I did. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. It was a special story just created just for that DVD. It's a little, I think it's an 8-page comic, which I penciled and wrote. And my really good friend, Mort Todd, inked it and actually did the finished art. I just did really quick, loose pencils, and he did the finished art, and he colored it grayscale and did the lettering. And Mort Todd is a tremendous guy. He's been the editor-in-chief of Cracked magazine in the, I think, mid-'80s. He was like super young when he got that gig. And, of course, he worked for Marvel in the early 90s, and he's done all kinds of stuff from like a Speed Racer newspaper strip to he's currently doing some Italian film, this character called Sadistic. He got the rights to do the English version of that, and then they ended up making a documentary. So he's doing really good. But it was great working with him on this. What else was on that DVD? Since I mentioned it, there's a great documentary making the film, which I didn't make. I didn't film it. I didn't create the documentary. But yeah, they interview me and all the other, all the key filmmakers, the director and the production designer and stuff. So that was really awesome. I mean, that was like one of the best experiences of my life, definitely as a creator. And it was a small film. It wasn't out there in the theaters. Did the film festival and saw it on DVD. But don't get me wrong, I'd love a blockbuster because, with that would come a lot of money and, a lot more attention and stuff. But, again, it's like when I told my friend Ted about this, I told him how it was going to work and, the scale of the film. And then he kind of sat there and goes, you know what, Hob, that just kind of sounds like the way it would work out for you. Something really good, but yet you're still involved with it and it doesn't get out of hand. And, Ted was right, and in the end it turned out to be a great product. I mean, I love the film. I know obviously I have to say that, but I'm not saying it because I have to. I actually really do like the story and the way it was executed.